Are you an entrepreneur or ready to become a boss? Welcome to Hawaii Boss, the business podcast made in Hawaii, where you will hear from island movers and shakers on who they are and their impact on our state. And now, step into the office of your host for Hawaii Boss, David Pettijohn.
Aloha, Hawaii Boss podcast crew listening in out there, or if you watch us, you're going to want to tune in today because we're excited. Memorial Day today, so it's a special day for everybody. But then when we talk about Memorial Day, there's things that we like to celebrate as part of America. And one of those things is running for office to represent your neck of the woods. And so we're very fortunate today we're going into the boss's office, or hope to be boss's office of her district in Makakilo and Kapolei, Miss Anna Odom.
Hi.
Welcome.
Hello. Thank you for having me.
No, this is so great. So we're here to tell you're a sort of transplant from the South of Florida, yes. South Carolina, Beaufort. Is that right? How you say that?
Yeah. Yes. Thank you, Beaufort.
Yeah,
unlike
Beaufort
in North Carolina.
Yeah, you don't want to mix those two up.
No, you do not.
My wife and I actually met in North Carolina, and her family's from Florida.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. So anyway, it was a great experience to, be in that part of the country, because it's a whole different, I grew up sort of in the Pacific Northwest, or a little hardened sort of people that's so welcoming. And then
Mm-hmm.
Beaufort too is also sort of on the coast. Are we talking, right? And so tell us about what sort of maybe the coastal South Carolina, people and the people here in Hawaii, is there,
there's actually a lot of similarities. I come from St. Helena Island, which is a part of Beaufort County. So,
Mm-hmm.
island life, very special people connected to the actual lands that they
Mm-hmm.
live on.
Sure.
And it's very, very vibrant in history, culture, and obviously military and tourism also come into play, which
sure.
just like here in the islands, tourism and military is super important. So there's a lot of commonalities. So when I came from Beaufort, St. Helena Island to Oahu, it was just a bigger island.
Right.
And so there was always you're not going to get that island fever, are you? If I didn't get it on St. Helena Island, I'm fine on Oahu, and I've been great ever since I got here.
That's awesome. So again, some of us come to Hawaii, and it's what do they call it, the year-long work vacation. Some people come and they work for a year or so and they leave, but you've successfully lived and worked 10 years here. What's the motivating force to sort of come here and make Hawaii your new special island?
Oh, it's such a great story. Coming from South Carolina, it was a beautiful place to be. It's my history, it's my home, it's where I'm from. Mm-hmm. But as most people do when they evolve, they want to see more of the world, see what's going on. And me and my now late husband, we were just in a really good place financially, stability, and we thought this is the best time to make a move. Not because we have to, not because we're struggling, but because we're in the position to be able to move. And his father actually already lived out here and was already established out here. My late husband actually attended Waianae High School out here for a while.
Okay.
His younger brother actually lived most of his life out here with his dad. So when we talked about, relocating and moving somewhere, well, of course, hello, Hawaii.
Sure. If you're gonna, if you like you said, you're not moving because you have to. You're moving because you're making a choice. If I got a choice to move somewhere, where would it be, right?
Exactly. And his dad is, was getting up there in age, and it was very important for him to not only connect with his dad, but he also has a sister from his now marriage, and so he was connected. He was already here, and his family was calling to him basically. And he was like, this is a good time. This is the best time to make this move. It's important that I connect with my family again. And he just could not wait to show me Oahu. So that was
that's really home. Exciting. That's home for him.
Yes. When I moved here, of course, most flights, when you're watching those dollars, they come in at night. So I didn't even get a view of the islands until the very next morning from my own porch. And it was just the most beautiful sight I had ever seen. And it was a couple and Campbell Industrial from the top of Makakilo Mountain.
Uh-huh.
And I can remember the first thing he said to me that morning. He says, stand right here, because we had a sliding glass door and the blinds were completely closed. And he says, stand right here and close your eyes. And I stood there and I remember him opening the blinds and me just seeing where I was now, not on vacation, but living and breathing. From that moment on, that view, I was just amazed, astonished. And he looked at me and he said, I'm sorry, it's not more beautiful. And I was like, what are you talking about?
Right.
And he was like, well, you do kind of get a view of the Campbell Industrial, which isn't so pretty. And I'm like, you know, I don't even see that right now. It's just
the ocean's right past that, and that beautiful horizon. And
I've always lived where I can see the water. And so even though I'm not close to it up here, I can still see it. So that's so wonderful and special to me.
So then from there, that started your journey in Hawaii, living, working, people, it's not a cheap endeavor to come over here to Hawaii. It's a nice view, but then, so how did you keep things going?
Well, part of it was due to me already being a widow. And at that time, Social Security paid you and your dependents. So a lot of the money that I had was basically because my husband passed and I still needed a way to maintain my family, just one person, especially the mother of the household, also having to work and take on two roles. That support it saved me and it saved my children. I was able to work when I needed to, but I was also able to be home when I needed and wanted to be. My children got way more of my attention because I wasn't forced into the workplace. I was literally, in a sense, paid to stay home and raise my children. And so that's what I did. I just raised my kids. And so when it came time to move, we just took that financial stability and just used it here. But when we moved here that so long ago, almost 15 years ago now, things were so much different. I mean, things have really, really just gone crazy. And since we've moved here, we got a beautiful home, 4 bedrooms, beautiful backyard, beautiful front yard, for less than $1,600 a month back then. So it was way, and a lot of the prices back then, of course, there's always those increased differences, especially because of the Jones Act and shipping. But outside of that, our increased spending, it really wasn't increased because we had a lot of things that we no longer had to pay for when we moved here, like winter clothes, heating, AC, those things being mandatory. Living in the South, you have to run those ACs, you have to run those heaters. So they generate a huge bill. So a lot of the things that we were spending our money on there, when we came here, it was easily,
you absorbed it, sort of, were able to adjust kind of.
But now is completely different. Now even when we first moved here, a lot of families live together, but now way more families are living together just because of the inconsistency of, jobs and money and resources, because it was already here before COVID, but then COVID really was just the final nail. And so the struggle is really hard, and staying here has been super hard. But I'm telling you honestly from the heart, staying here is important because it's the way it is, so that we can fix it.
Right. Yeah. If everyone just leaves, and there's we still have to be able to get in there and get our hands dirty a little bit. It feels like. So is this sort of informing your politics, as it were? You're running for office, and all these changes. Is that what is your sort of your motivation?
Well, the changes kind of slapped me in the face, like most people got slapped with the way politics just kind of changed overnight. Before, I thought I was just a very, not on paper, but just in terms of how I live my life, I always thought I was a liberal Democrat, to be quite honest. I thought that my values lined with just being just very fluid and just, letting people do what they do. I do what I do. And, just
everything's going to be okay.
Right. But then when I started having these same conversations, back in 2015, 2016, I'm starting to notice that I'm not necessarily on the side of the argument that I thought I was. And one of the big conversations that was happening at the time was gun control. And that's when I started to pay attention and realize that Democrat liberals had a way different mindset on guns and the First Amendment, Second Amendment, and just being, in tune with the Constitution.
Right.
But I was like, oh, wait a minute. What else have I gotten wrong? What else have I just not been paying attention to? Because I didn't think this had anything to do with me.
Sure.
A lot of people like me, we just think people who know what they're doing, they're going to do. When we get upset, we just vote somebody else new in, and we just go on with our daily lives, not realizing how much that decision deeply affects us every day.
Sure.
And so when I started having these conversations and they started turning really political, I was actually going through a depression at the time because I lost my husband in 2015 in December, right before Christmas, right before, sudden freak deaths are just, they are what they are. They do what they're going to do.
They're traumatic.
Yes. So I was going through a period of time where my only outlet was the internet. My only outlet was what I thought about what was going on in the world. And somebody, Jaime Padilla, he reached out to me. He was the district chair for Manoa at the time. And he was like, who are you? Are you in the Republican Party? And I'm like, no. And he was like, well, you sound like you should be. And I was like, really? And just it almost instantly clicked that I had somebody that I never met before who had saw something that I said and was like, I want to know who you are. And I'm like, so I instantly engaged in the conversation, and he was like, we need people like you. And he was like, where are you from? And I said, Makakilo. And he said, we have no representation in Makakilo right now. He was like, that's an open district. He was like, if you join the party, you have, room to actually be in a leadership position to use your voice. Because at the time, the only thing that I really spoke upon that I thought sounded anywhere political was, I lost my husband on Kania Road. I'm not the only person to have lost someone on Kania Road. That's a very dangerous road. So I was speaking, from that part of me, like I lost somebody, and every 6 months to a year, somebody's losing somebody on that road. And then I live on Makakilo Drive, and we lose people on this road, pedestrian fatalities. And then we got our road paved, and then they didn't give us our crosswalks back. So now I'm being pulled into the political climate just by things that are happening in my life. Oh, this does have something to do with me.
Right.
And so I just hit everything that I could. I give it my all. I am the current appointed district chair for 43 right now, since it's new. I'm going to have a precinct election meeting soon so that we can, have somebody officially elected for that position. But it was just a carryover because we used to be 39, and I was the district chair for 39. So, and then I'm on a lot of committees, IPPRC, which is issues, platforms, programs, resolutions. I'm also a part of the community service, and I also am the secretary for the Honolulu County Republican Party. So I dove completely in. I'm learning the other people running for office. I'm having these relationships forming around me. I'm doing events, and just everything started coming together like around me, just through opportunity. And then with the opportunity, your eyes are open, and you're realizing you're in a position that you can do something. So when reapportionment came and Makakilo gained its own district, which thankfully, rightfully so, and I'm living here, and I'm already very active in the political community, I was asked, and I remember it was like 11:30 at night, I get a phone call, and it was, hey, Anna, I got a question for you. And I know you have a lot on your plate, but this is, what's coming down, and we would like to know where you stand. And I'm like, okay, what's going on? And, they're like, you're going to have a district, you're going to be out of 39. And we would like to know if you would consider running for that position. And, a little bit of, lack of confidence just in terms of the knowledge that comes with politics. And none of that even hindered my decision. I didn't even have to think about it. I just had my 3 grandchildren move in with me full time. And I instantly said yes, because I'm like, you know what? I have been building up this position. I've been listening to the people. I'm hearing the issues they have. They're the same issues I have. We're all in agreement that the people we have in office right now, just they've had their time. I'll just say that they've had their time, and we need something new, and we want it to be you. We think you have the capacity to reach people because we're seeing you do it. That was huge for me, in my confidence and seeing how well I've connected with my community. And I'm like, I know it's not all for just to keep me busy. It's for a reason. And without any hesitation, I said yes, because it's so important to me. It really is.
Now, did you see yourself say, when you were 21, that this kind of activity would be in your wheelhouse?
Absolutely not. Absolutely not.
What were you doing at 21? Where were you at?
At 21, I was raising kids. I was, probably in the middle of being a single mom at that point, just being responsible for my life, and not, as most 21-year-olds are, very selfishly liberated in their movement and thinking. So I if you would have ever, and we talk about this so much, if you would have ever looked at me 10 years ago, 20 years ago, and said, one day you will be living on the island of Oahu, running for office, I would have asked you, did you just take some really great drugs? Because I don't know. I never in a million years did I ever see myself in this position. But I think most people grow, like if you're not really just in that mindset of, I have certain things that I believe in and know for certain that those beliefs are conservative. Most people don't really know that they're conservative. I didn't know I was conservative until I was asked certain questions in a certain phase of my life.
Sure.
Because there was a certain phase of my life when I was younger that I was absolutely pro-choice. I was like, your body, your choice. But then through education, knowledge, from people who I trust, and just living my life and seeing what's happening with the world around me, I'm like, I am absolutely 1,000% pro-life and believe in life begins at conception, and unless there's an absolute medical reason that you and your doctor personally discuss, we do not need buildings where strangers can walk in and see a doctor they've never seen before and kill an innocent life. And it was at that moment when I owned the pro-life stance that I was like, oh yeah, I'm absolutely conservative for sure.
Yeah, and I think I can agree with that. I think there's a saying, some saying is that when you're young, you're you're a liberal or you're a Democrat. When you get older, you have to start paying the taxes and you have to start But here in Hawaii, though, you get to put an R on your name. It's like a scarlet letter sort of in Hawaii.
You would have thought, and at a time it really was, when I came into the party. Of course, there were some problems, the party had seemingly been inactive for a really long time. But I think the change, it didn't just happen on the mainland, it happened here too. I was fortunate, and I do say fortunate enough, to drive around in the infamous Trump truck for like 8 months. So I was out and about on a regular basis, blaring Republican, conservative, Trump, And so these conversations would come to me. And most people that would have conversation with me were newly Republicans who just realized that, oh, I do have conservative values, or people that are just so tired of both sides of the aisle being a disappointment, just seeing someone fresh in the party shake things up brought them to the party. And so a lot of the Trump rallies and freedom rallies that we had over the last few elections really gave the opportunity for people who had that belief to be amongst other people who had that same belief and not feel like they would be in a position of vulnerability.
I saw a lot of those, downtown, they had these big parades during the summer. I'm down Waikiki, and they just kept, big ones. I'm like, wow, there's a lot of folks out, that some of them are Trumpets, some of them America, they're kind of like, they're trying to say something and maybe, good old fashioned American values, those kind of things.
So all of that, just meeting the community that way and having the conversations I've had, there's a lot of people here who have either decided they want to that they are Democrats, but they do want to see, what the Republican Party can, change or help. I want to say help, because that's what we're supposed to be doing. We're supposed to be speaking together to help the community. And so, but now we feel like we're more hurt. And I think it's the people like me who are hurt and tired, and not politicians, who are ready to come in, stand up, and not only complain about community issues, but put ourselves in a position to fix them, to help the communities again, and reach out in a way that they know they matter. Our voices matter. Every voice matters. Conservative voices matter. Liberal voices matter. You cannot live in Hawaii and be strictly liberal or strictly conservative, because there's just too much. And aloha is for everybody, right? So we love everybody. We want everybody to succeed. We want everybody to be protected under our Constitution and in our judicial system and in our legislative system. We can't just think about the people who are represented because they have the floor. There's so many of us who didn't get a chance to have our voices on the floor because there was no representation there.
That's interesting. If you're, that's kind of this representative government, you're representing the people of that Makakilo. You mentioned the roads, Kunia Road is a terrible. What are some other things that kind of on your list of, as you're going out and talking to people? And how do you do that nowadays? I know there's digital, but you used to see people going and knocking on doors. So as you go and knock on those doors, or however you do it, and tell us about that experience, but then what do they want and what do they need?
Yeah, well, first of all, knocking on doors it's a little tricky these days, because you do have two totally different political ideals fighting each other. COVID exists, but how dangerous is it? How much do we have to do to save ourselves from it without just being completely antisocial, right? But you just don't know where people stand. You don't know what people's level of comfortability is. So knocking on doors is hard, because you don't want to offend those people, right? So I try to do, like, if I'm at the local park, I'll say, hey, I'm at the local park, come down, let's talk story. I had a Halloween event, much smaller than the one from the year before, up here in Makakilo, where I said, hey, if you weren't thinking that your neighborhood was doing anything for Halloween and you don't have anything going on, come down to the park. Let's do something for the kids. So I'm always doing things that put me in the community, but invites them out, so their comfortability is met long before I knock on your door and make you uncomfortable. And then through those conversations, I'm like, hey, I would love to meet more people in the community. And so I reach out and I make myself available. One of the signs that I just put up in Makakilo, it says, your voice matters, let's chat. And it has all of my information so that you can get a hold of me. So I try to make myself available. And then, of course, with the new technology, there's always, you can always text people, give them a call, leave a message on their voicemails, since most people don't answer calls from people they don't know.
Right.
So there's ways to still engage with the community without, like I said, necessarily offending or hurting the people who really just still feel like they just don't want to have somebody they don't know that close to their home, when they feel like they're already vulnerable because of what's going on. So I try to be very, very respectful in that area and just keep myself very, very as muchly available as possible.
Yeah, again, because there's that stigma a little bit. You go public with a certain position. You're kind of can be. But describe some of the folks that are coming out and supporting the kind of thing that you're doing. A
lot of freedom fighters, patriots, and people that are just really tired of the same old. I've heard so many people say, I'm sick of career politicians. Like, I'm just done with it. If you've already been in office, even just one term, I'm not going to vote for you, because you had your chance. And we're just at a point where we need something so drastically different that at this point it's either new or not at all. Right? They want to see those new, fresh faces. They want to see people who aren't scared to be in the public. They want transparency. They want safety. They want people that understand their struggle. Because when you talk about career politicians and people who have been in the system and gaining those tax dollars and not having those financial struggles that, we faced, you almost feel disconnected from the very people who are supposed to represent you, right? So they want to know that you're connected to the community and that you understand the issues and where they come from. And not just that, but the effects of those policies. I think that's a big problem, where we have a lot of policies and we think they're great ideas and then we just throw them out there, but then we don't revisit them to see how it actually affected the community, or if it was actually effective at all. So that's the main things that I hear from people, is they want to know that the people who represent them are people.
Right. They're involved in the community, and they, they want to be involved. And so it sounds like you're envisioning sort of this groundswell of folks coming into office and having some fresh ideas that come in. Some of the argument the other folks would say is that, well, we need some continuity over time to, what do you say to those folks?
Well, I do say that 60 plus years of one political party running things, we as the Republican Party, who is really, it's not the only choice, but it's the most popular other choice for people to run to. It's a very well established choice to run to. But we're not going to be able to fix things overnight either. We're not going to be able to walk into the state house and into our Senate and come up with something, and then June 6th, everything's running smoothly. We're going to need time to see the effects of new policy and new people. But I think in terms of just what's already been happening, I think that the policies and the people who have been making them have been around long enough that a lot of the things that they put in place, they simply did not work. They're simply not working. And so keeping in mind how much time this party has been given to show, the potential of Hawaii, and it's not there. We're hoping that allowing and giving the chance to another party and new people, because we'll be so engaged, because we'll be so transparent, because we want to be so involved, that we feel like we're doing it together. It'll feel like progress is starting to happen, even though on a bigger scale, we're not being able to document or see it translate right away. The community can already start to feel the change, because some of the things they're asking for are so just too easy not to give, like transparency, like answering a question directly. I have a post that I put out that just labels some very key points about me: conservative, pro-life, small government, very, very specific things. And I've been thanked for publicly holding an actual position. People can say, oh, I know where you stand on this issue, because they're tired of the political song and dance of, I'm going to give you a lot of word salad to make you think I answered your question, but I really just wasted your time and said nothing. If we are at least honest with the people about what's going on, even when it's not such great news, at least they know they're getting the information and they understand why some of the decisions that are being made the way they are, or why certain decisions are taking just a little bit longer than something should. Because, President Trump's administration proved that when you have a problem and you deal with it, you can get results pretty quickly. And so I think a lot of things will iron themselves out pretty quickly. But there are still going to be plenty of things that we're not going to see, real good change for a long time. But hopefully it happens in a way, and I've said this before, that it's not just important for me that the people here feel like they have a good, solid, secure home, but people who had to leave now can look at Hawaii and say, you know what? If I want to go back, I can. If I want to go back, and I can.
There's a space for me. I can afford to live there. I can raise my family there, and those values that Hawaii espouses with aloha. But a lot of families are displaced. A lot of
Yeah.
local families are displaced to the
Absolutely.
mainland because
I know
they
many
can't.
people that have my heart and my love, people who deserve to be here more than me in terms of speaking on whose land this really is, right? I know some people will say it's, kind of unfair. I get to be here. My best girlfriend doesn't, but I'm here making sure that one day she can.
Mm. Yeah. Because I think that's the part of, again, anyone I think who's running for anything has to recognize the value of Hawaii and our ability to sort of,
Absolutely.
how do you say, manage these resources. And
Yes.
again, it kind of politics, money, they kind of go hand in hand. What are some of the private, what do you think where maybe they're not putting the money where they should be and where you'd like to see some of the money going?
I would like to see definitely a just huge financial audit at this point of what is going on, because there's a lot of money going to the state and we're not seeing a lot of return on that. Like the rail, for instance.
Mm-hmm.
It's just the biggest eyesore on the planet on Oahu right now. That's not even functional,
Mm-hmm.
right? So that's a lot of, at this point, gone wasted money that has done absolutely nothing for the community,
Mm-hmm.
absolutely nothing for Oahu, other than the people who got to work the rail. And from what I understand, a lot of those people came from the mainland. So
Mm-hmm.
again, who actually benefited from it being built, right? And then we have on Makakilo, I believe, on any given good day, one officer that patrols up here, right?
Mm-hmm.
But we seem to get a lot of tickets, right? A lot of parking tickets. And, it's a different vibe now, thanks to COVID. A lot of people couldn't go to work for a long time. A lot of cars stayed parked for a long time. A lot of cars got broke down and they could not afford to be fixed because of COVID, right? So you have this one officer up in Makakilo just handing out tickets. Are those tickets for profit or are they for the safety and benefit of our community? Like, we need to shift our attention based on what our community is dealing with. And right now, our community doesn't need to be policed for profit. It needs to be policed for safety. So I want to see money go into our police system so that we can have that police station that we rightfully need on the west side and Waianae. They have just that one little, they need their own station. Eva Beach, they need their own station. We need to alleviate the pressure off of Kapolei and their police officers so that we can pay attention to what the community needs right now. And that's safety, because now we have more desperate people. We have more people out of jails because of COVID, and crime is rising everywhere on the island. Everybody's concerned with the safety of, what's going to happen in their neighborhood when they go to sleep at night. Is their catalytic converter going to be stolen? Or is someone going to ram inside their house and strong arm them and take all their stuff? Like, people everywhere are worried about that. But our police presence is only enough to ticket cars that are just sitting there. Our resources are just bleeding, and it's not doing us any good. So the money, obviously the money is there. They're taking a lot of the money, but where it's being spent and utilized is where we're losing the fight. And I think we need to readdress, look at where these funds are actually going, where and if they benefited the community at all, and how to readjust to make sure that what we're actually trying to do is what we're actually getting done. My old man has already stopped 2 catalytic converter thefts in Makakilo in the last 6 months. And if a cop were to pull up, it's his word against the guy who's trying to steal your stuff.
Right.
Like, so that puts the community at a, what do I do if I happen upon somebody committing a crime? How safe am I? How protected am I if the police do come? What can they actually do? They want these conversations. And the only way we can have these conversations is if our police are present in our communities to have these conversations. I want to see money and resources go to our high school students so that we can pinpoint these kids before they even get out of high school and say, hey, you look like you're the kind of kid that, could really get into law enforcement and really do something good for your community instead of graduating and having absolutely no plan, but all the stresses of Hawaii is the most expensive place to live,
Right.
and you're going to at least need $100,000 a year to live here, or at least 4 good roommates with really good jobs to sustain yourself.
Right.
At least if some of these kids come out with a plan, and if it's in law enforcement and they can actually live and learn and take care of their own community, now we have police who are a part of the community, policing for safety and the benefit of their community and not for profit, so that this money can just go somewhere where we're not even going to see the benefits of it anyway.
Well,
So
there is that pipeline required, like you said, those young people coming up, not only for police jobs, but like you had said that the rail had all these folks from the mainland, also, developing. I know there's some great stuff out in Waianae and Kapolei where folks are trying to build not-for-profits that are, supporting these young men coming up in trades or whatever.
Yes. From what I understand, Waianae High School has turned into a very wonderful academy that's pumping out, valedictorians like crazy, and that's good. Kapolei High School should be pumping out just as many valedictorians, Campbell High School, all these high schools, all these children deserve the potential and deserve opportunity to show where their strengths are. And we pay attention to the top tier things that are going to get you the best thing possible. We need people, and we need a system that can recognize every student's potential, because every student has to graduate and every student has to navigate this world. What are the tools that they have to navigate? We have conversations now, thanks to COVID. We had classrooms in our living room, and a lot of parents were horrified, disappointed in what their kids were learning and what their kids were not learning. So when you know your kid best, you are the first advocate for that child. You are the person that you can take that information to your school and say, hey, my kid is really into this when he's not at school. He really excels in this, or if you talk to him about it like this, he'll understand it better. We need better communication between parents and our teachers. And when we have, policies and people talking about, we're going to call you a domestic terrorist if you don't fall in line with what the school wants to do. You're breaking that conversation, and now you're not going to have as good of an understanding or relationship with the child you're trying to teach. It has to be a relationship between everybody. Every kid wants to feel special. Every child wants to know that they are a part of this world and that they can be productive. But we don't know that when we're kids. We don't know that until it's given to us. So if we let 80% of our kids graduate with literally no plan, nobody paying attention to what they could possibly, be good at and be successful in, you have 80% of kids graduating completely lost. And now we have all these suicides thanks to COVID. COVID now has made life so much more, how am I going to do this? That now you have high school kids going, you know what? I can't even, so now we have a suicide rate that we have to consider in all of this. So resources absolutely need to be for our future, something that making sure that the kids that are going to take over and the kids that are going to have to make sure that things keep going have a way to stay here and keep it going. And they're not going to be able to do that if they don't even have confidence in their own abilities on graduation day.
Right. Yeah, and that's a big leap from not having a plan to having to hold down if you didn't have housing, and there's already enough problems with folks who with challenges on the street and different. Anyway, there's lots of challenges that I think good people, citizens should go and if they've got an opinion about something, what says it's not right, go ahead and express yourself to this. So now you said, like, again, when you were 21, you had no idea. So if someone's young and says, hey, I've got something to say, I agree with you, I don't know how to say, where do they start? Some advice for a young up and coming, maybe politician or representative of the people.
I would say start at your school, because schools have the president of their class, so there's things that go on in school that kind of prepare you for that political environment. But if it's something that's just not within your wheelhouse, because only one person can run that, go to your to local representatives, like for instance Makakilo District 43 for the Republican Party. Get in touch with me. and ask those important questions, because that's something that I was really speaking to the last election cycle, because I was the campaign manager for Austin McGlinty for District 39. And I was telling him that I thought it was super important that we come up with, some kind of program where we can sponsor kids from high school and say, hey, like, if you're a conservative and you have a business mind and you want to know some local Republicans and you want to get into the local businesses, then we have people who are in the party who, let's say, owns a local business and says, hey, you're into that, you want to talk about that, come down, let's talk about it, maybe get a job. All of those things are connected, because we're not just Republicans walking around. We're working Republicans, a part of the community. And in order to sustain ourselves, we have to have something. So when you connect with that person, you could possibly be connecting to a potential job, to a potential, and not like, where you just get to be the one that does everything, but you don't get paid for it. That's no longer feasible in the environment we're in. So I want to be able to connect students with business owners, students with leaders, so that they can have that direct connection, have that conversation. And if there is that commitment and there is that drive to be in that position, then you've already made a friend, you've already made a relationship. Now you have a connection. And so I think that's the most important thing in terms of politics, is understanding who is in politics. It doesn't even necessarily have to be a district leader. It just has to be maybe the guy that lives next door that owns a restaurant, or has a food truck. That guy would probably be more beneficial to answering questions than probably somebody that's a little bit, which we're hoping to change, harder to get in touch with. And when you get it from local people that can spend that time with you, offer you that job, offer you that position, offer you those contacts, that's trust. That's aloha. That's building the village. So I think all of those run hand in hand. But initially, to get started, I would absolutely look in the schools, see what they have available, see if they even have contact information. We need to be available to the schools, so that when we do have kids reaching out saying, hey, I think I want to get into politics, but there's not a lot happening here, there's not a lot of information. Where can I get that information and readily have this stuff at school? So that it is available, because some kids just don't know, right?
Well, there's a lot of lacking, I think, in civics education in general. But yeah, of course, that a child should know who their representative is and represent, and their parents. I think we were so disconnected, I think, from the people who adjudicate our resources and sort of our day-to-day lives. We think, there's someone else taking care of that kind of, but it's the people. It's a person like you or me that's up there trying to figure this thing out, with us, hopefully.
Exactly. And that's what I was telling a constituent the other day. I said, I hope to see you again. I hope to develop this relationship, because I want to be connected to my community members. I'm a very social person. I like having conversation, and I don't want to be that person that showed up at your door, gave you a pen, and you said you'd vote for me, and then I never see you again. I said, I hope, and I tell everybody this, I hope to see you again. I hope to build a relationship with you, because I can't be your voice if I don't know what you're saying.
Right.
So the more people I get to talk to, and not just one time, but get to know and understand, when they need something, when the community needs something, they feel comfortable, connected, and they can communicate. And then we can create something that'll be beneficial.
Sure. Now, hey, the State House doesn't, those folks that work up there, they don't get paid lots and lots of money. Do you have to keep working as you're running and doing this kind of stuff?
Right.
That's right. Yeah. What kind of work are you doing now?
I recently just started a new job at the reopened Sugarcane at the Kama'ali'i Mall. It's now a chop house, steakhouse, and I'm a server there. And it has been an amazing, amazing experience working there, because it's just right outside my district, but it's still my district, because I'm still connected with everybody in my community. I run into people all the the time. And so not only has, my job been a benefit to me just in terms of, keeping the lights on,
Right.
staying connected with my community, even when I'm not campaigning,
Right.
And that's the big thing about, campaigning is, if you have a lot of time to campaign, it's probably because you're already pretty well established, retired, or,
Mm-hmm.
I got into it late in the game, but I'm not established. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
I'm still just your average everyday person who still has
Right.
to get up and grind, and going to sugarcane every day is just like a huge delight, because everybody that works there and just the people that I meet every day, it tells me I'm on the right path. Excuse me. Like everything just kind of runs together almost. So yeah. So I work as a server, and yes, like I said, it's newly open. So,
Come
we're
on
still
down and
yeah. Help us keep the lights on.
see Ann. That's right. Do lunch and dinner.
Dinner for right now. Soon
Dinner.
we're going to be open full time. We do move to 7 days a week starting June 5th, 5 to 10, I believe, right now. So dinner for now, but a full menu real soon. I believe when I go back to work, I think we might have. I don't know. We're just so excited because, in terms of availability and going places and just having those nights out. AAA in our area hasn't really had a really nice steakhouse to go to.
Right.
And talk to people that's, part of the politics and the concern of, when we want to go out and have a good time, have a good steak, have a nice date night, I have to drive to Waikiki to do that.
Right.
So it's nice that our community has a place that we can enjoy that's so close to home.
And
right?
it's nice. It's not, yes, it's some nicer dining, a little bit, some good, good steak. Right. Yes.
Nice, really nice. And it's very helpful because living here, you cannot live here and not work.
That's right. Yeah.
Like, just can't do it. Like I said, people living on top of people around here, so it's super important to be able to say, I go to work every day and I have a way to sustain myself. Sure.
Well, you're working, you're campaigning, do you have time off? And what does your family like to do? And you got a little time off. Where do you go? Where's your special little hideaway? Or do you have time to do any of that?
We just, the beach, of course, gotta just get sun blessed, get saltwater blessed, taking the kids to the park, just being a part of the community, because, growing up, I was never taught that. I was never connected to that. We just lived our lives, so to speak. Whoever was in it, that was just how it worked.
Right.
So I like to take my family out of what I like to call my old comfort zone of just being in a space where you're just always with people, So I like taking the kids and my old man to the rallies and the sign waving events. And so I don't do it because I want my grandchildren to be political, because we've already talked about the whole political career climate stuff. I don't want that. I just want them to see their potential. Right. And so seeing what I do, experiencing what I experience, if that helps them understand who they are better, then I'm happy to give them that experience that otherwise they wouldn't have. Like, I just took my granddaughter with me to get a couple more signatures on my nomination papers a few days ago. And she learned a lot. She made a friend and she asked a lot of questions. So a lot of what we do on our off time really isn't relaxing, so to speak.
Well, but it's still building. It's what you're trying to build right now, and sometimes that takes extra. Extra time. It's like a business. You're building a brand of Anna Odom as far as political brand. That what it means and who you're representing and what you're trying to do. As you're as you're building your campaign and wish you the best of luck from the Hawaii Boss crew out here. But any last words or thoughts as you're trying to reach the people?
Well, just that I'm here, I'm available, and I want to hear from you. And I want to take these conversations where they're going to be most effective and promising and getting results. I don't want people to be afraid to reach out to me, but just remember, I am still a working girl and I'm not always going to, be able to take that call. But when I can get back to people, I do. I like engaging with the public. And so get out.
You have
Get in
website,
touch with
Instagram, all
me.
that stuff.
Vote
And
Odom 2022 on everything.
okay,
Facebook,
Odom 2022. All
Instagram,
right.
Twitter, vote Odom 2022.
Okay.
Hit me up on Messenger, Instagram Messenger. And yeah, like I said, I'm always here. And when I can get back in touch with people and engage and have that time to actually meet, because that's the biggest thing about what I like to do on my time off is meet people in the community. Let's meet. Let's make an appointment.
Sure. Well, we're thankful that on the Hawaii Boss, you were able to come on and we were able to add your voice to the conversation. I think that's so important in Hawaii that we continue to have about just being transparent, like you say, and we're so grateful for your for what you're doing. And it's a good example. I think you said to kids and your posterity. I think that's what some of your motivation behind this. And I think all of us, if we can pass on a few good things to our children, we're excited to do that. So again, Anna,
thank you so much.
Yeah, no, thank you. And we'll continue to watch your campaign throughout and see how things go for you. Again, wish you the best of luck.
Thank you so much.
Yeah. Until next time, aloha.
Aloha.
Make sure to subscribe to Hawaii Boss and follow us on social media at Hawaii Boss Podcast at the links in the description. We'll see you soon in the boss's office.